We learned yesterday that there are two different types of clocks. The one that we learned about yesterday was called an analog clock. That's the type of clock that we had in our classroom. So today we're going to learn about the second type of clock. The second type of clock is called a digital clock. So a digital clock looks more like the red timer that we had on the big whiteboard. So we're going to see how we can tell the time on a digital clock. A digital clock uses numbers to show the hour and minutes. The clock shows 2 o'clock. So instead of having the shorter and the longer hand, in a digital clock, there's just 3 numbers to read. So the first number is the hour. The next 2 numbers shows you the minutes. So we're going to look on this digital clock and we're going to say the times that we see. So just like yesterday, we were reading the time only to the hour, so we're just going to focus on this number right here. So the way that we would say this time is 12 o'clock. Can you guys say 12 o'clock? The next hour is 1 o'clock. The 1 is in the hour place, and for minutes, just like yesterday on an analog clock, the minutes for whenever we say o'clock is 00. Let's see what 2 o'clock looks like. So the only thing that changes is the hour on the clock. 3 o'clock looks like this. 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and let's go a little faster now, since we know that the only thing that is changing is the hour. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and back to 12 o'clock. So let's look at some questions that we can do together. So we're looking at this analog clock, and then we're going to transfer that time onto a digital clock. So remember, an analog clock is something that we can hang on a wall like we had in our classroom, and a digital clock is more of what families have in their home because it's easier to read. So just like yesterday, we're going to look at the red shorter hour hand. This hour hand is pointing to the 11, and for yesterday's lesson and today's work, the minute hand is always going to be at the 12. So we automatically know if the minute hand is pointing out to the 12, that's going to be 00. So why don't we do that for all of the questions? Because we know only the hour hand is going to change on the work that we're doing today. Alright, so minutes is done. So the hour hand is pointing to the number 11. So it is 11 o'clock for question number 1. Moving on to question number 2, the hour hand. What was the hour hand again? Is it the blue long hand or is it the short red hand? The hour hand is the shorter hand. So the shorter hand is pointing to the 6. So it is 6 o'clock. Let's move on. Here, okay, this is a new time that we haven't done before. Both of the minute hand and the hour hand is pointing to the 12. So we know that if the minute hand is pointing to the 12, it's always going to be 00. So we already have that down. The hour hand, the red hand, is pointing to the 12, so we're just going to write 12 here. 12 o'clock. For the last one, the hour hand is pointing to the 3. So all we have to do is put 3 in the hour part. Okay, we have 4 more examples that we're going to do, and we're going to speed it up because we should have the hang of it already. So 12 the minute hand is pointing to the 12, so 0, 0. Let's move on here because we know the minute numbers are going to be the same for all of our problems. It's pointing to the 12, so 0, 0. 0, 0 because it's pointing to the 12, and the minute hand is pointing to the 12 again here, so 0, 0. Alright, you guys, the red shorter hour hand is pointing to the 8. Here, it's pointing to the 1. Remember the hour hand is the shorter hand, and it is pointing to the number 5. The hour hand is pointing exactly to the 10, so it is 10 o'clock. I forgot to read out the times when we were doing question 5, 6, and 7, so let's say the times. 8 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and 5 o'clock. So on your assignment, you're going to look at what time it says on the analog clock, just what the hour hand says, and you're going to put that time into a digital clock.